The universe has a way of mocking human intuition. We measure our lives in inches, miles, or maybe a few thousand miles if we travel far. Out there are voids so incomprehensibly vast that if you were dropped into the middle of one, you would not see a single star with your naked eye. Not one. You would see nothing but perfect, endless, suffocating black in every direction forever. But before we get there, we need to start with something that seems immense by our standards, just so we can understand how quickly the scale becomes meaningless. All right, let's go. Number 10. The distance between Earth and the Moon. In 1969, the crew of Apollo 11 traversed this void in roughly 3 days, a journey that required a rocket standing 363 feet tall and burning 20 tons of fuel. The average distance is 238,855 miles. That is a concrete number, a distance you could technically drive a car over if you had a highway and a few months to spare. It feels vast because it is the only celestial distance humans have ever physically crossed. We look up at that silver disk and it feels close, almost touchable. But the numbers betray a profound emptiness. You can fit every planet in our solar system lined up side by side into the gap between the Earth and the Moon. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, all of it, with room to spare. This is our closest neighbor. If Earth were a basketball, the Moon would be a tennis ball located nearly 24 feet away. On that scale, the International Space Station scrapes the surface of the basketball just a centimeter above the leather. The part that should concern you is that this tiny gap nearly broke our biology. Astronauts returning from the Moon experienced lunar dust hay fever from regolith, particles so sharp they shred lung tissue, unweathered by any atmosphere. We crossed the closest cosmic void, and our bodies immediately registered the hostility of anywhere that isn't here. And this puddle jump distance starts to look absurdly insignificant when we realize that the vast majority of the solar system is a violent, empty desert we have never touched. Number 9. The distance to the sun. The light you see warming your skin at noon is ancient by the time it hits your retina. It left the sun precisely 8 minutes and 20 seconds ago. The physical distance is roughly 93 million miles, a unit we call 1 astronomical unit. If you boarded a commercial jet airliner and flew toward the sun at 550 miles per hour, the flight would take you 19 years. No layovers, no refueling, just 19 years of staring at a growing ball of fire. Giovanni Cassini in 1672 used a parallax method from Paris and French Guiana to get the first decent measurement of this distance, and it broke the scale of the known universe wide open. At this distance, the sun is merely a bright disk. But the real implication is far worse when you consider the speed of causality. Every time you look at the sun, you are not seeing where it is. You are seeing where it was 8 minutes ago. If the sun were to vanish instantly, we would not know it gravitationally or visually until 8 minutes and 20 seconds later. We orbit a ghost. The distance is so vast that reality itself arrives to us with a delay. And that delay is nothing. It's a hiccup. Because when we push past the gas giants, the light travel time turns minutes into hours and hours into a signal silence that starts to feel like a tomb. Number 8. The distance to Voyager 1. In 1977, NASA launched a probe the size of a small car. It has been traveling at roughly 38,000 miles per hour for over 4 decades. Currently, it sits over 15 billion miles from Earth. That sounds impressive until you realize that 15 billion miles is barely a foothold in the galaxy. Voyager 1 is currently 22 light hours and 38 light minutes away. A round-trip communication, traveling at the speed of light, takes 45 hours of silence. The signal we receive from Voyager is transmitted at a power level of about 23 watts, barely enough to power a refrigerator light bulb. By the time that whisper reaches Earth, the Deep Space Network has to scoop it out of the sky with 70-meter dishes, amplifying a signal that is a billionth of a watt. This is the farthest human-made object. What no one talks about is what happened on February 14, 1990. At that moment, Voyager turned around at the request of Carl Sagan and took a snapshot. In that image, Earth is a single pixel, a pale blue dot, suspended in a sunbeam. That's us, 15 billion miles away. That distance, which took 45 years to cover, is a rounding error against the backdrop of the Oort cloud. The spacecraft will spend another 14 to 28,000 years just trying to exit the sun's gravitational influence. We are not even out of our own driveway yet. Number 7. The distance to the Oort cloud. Here's where it gets disturbing. The Voyager probes are the fastest things we've ever made, but they are heading toward an icy shell of debris that defines the true edge of the Sun's realm. The Oort cloud is not a belt, it is a spherical shell of frozen nuclei. Its inner edge is roughly 2,000 astronomical units away. Its outer edge is estimated at 100,000 AU, or about 1.87 light years. We have never seen the Oort cloud directly. It is a theoretical necessity based on long-period comets studied by astronomer Jan Oort in 1950. To visualize this distance, consider that light covers 1 astronomical unit in 8 minutes. To reach the outer Oort cloud, light must travel for 1.87 years. The Sun becomes a point of light indistinguishable from the background stars. At this distance, the Sun's gravitational hold is so weak that a passing rogue planet or a slight perturbation from the galactic tide can rip comets from their billion-year orbits and hurl them inward, toward Earth. The terrifying part is the opacity of this barrier. It's not just empty space, it's a minefield of trillions of bodies, yet so vast that any one of them is hundreds of thousands of miles from the next. We are trapped inside an icy cage of our own ignorance, a shell that isolates us from the interstellar medium. It will take humanity another 300 years just to reach the edge of this bubble, assuming we develop propulsion methods that currently violate the laws of physics. And that bubble, our entire solar system, is just a single brain cell in a void so large that it forces us to abandon miles entirely and switch to light years, a unit that sounds clean but hides a brutal truth. Number 6. The distance to the nearest star system. Alpha Centauri is a triple star system. Proxima Centauri, the closest of the three, sits 4.24 light-years away. That is roughly 25 trillion miles. A photon, the fastest possible entity in the universe, takes 4.24 years to make this trip. For a chemical rocket like the ones we use today, the journey time is not measured in decades or centuries. It is measured in geologic time. A direct mission using the space shuttle's top speed would take roughly 165,000 years. Dr. Kevin Wagner at the University of Arizona has directly imaged planets in this system, worlds of molten hell orbiting incredibly close to these distant suns. We can see the worlds, but the gulf is a physics prison. At 4.24 light-years, the distance begins to play a cruel trick on the human mind. The speed of light, 186,000 miles per second, is so slow on the cosmic scale that it makes the universe functionally disconnected. If you set out for Proxima Centauri today and somehow achieved 10% of the speed of light using a light sail, every molecule of interstellar hydrogen would become a high-energy particle beam that would sandpaper your ship into dust before you crossed the halfway point. And that's just the next-door neighbor. We haven't even looked at the structure of the galaxy itself, a structure that holds a specific distance so empty it breaks the concept of Milky Way into pieces. Number 5. The distance to the Boat's void. In 1981, astronomer Robert Kirshner and his team were mapping galactic redshifts when they found a sphere of nothing, 330 million light-years in diameter. This is the Boat's void. At a distance of 700 million light-years from us, this region should contain around 10,000 galaxies based on the universal average density. Instead, it contains only 60. That's a spherical volume so empty that if the Milky Way sat in the center of it, humanity would not have known another galaxy existed until the invention of the CCD camera in the 1960s. We would have looked up and seen total blackness beyond our own star system. If you were to teleport into the middle of this void, a civilization would never develop astronomy as we know it. The concept of a universe would not exist. The intergalactic distances here are measured in tens of millions of light-years. The darkness is not just a lack of light, it's a lack of matter. It's a cold, negative whisper where the expansion of the universe outruns gravity completely, and the physical distance between atoms becomes a mockery of cohesion. And this connects to something we'll get to in number 2, because the Boat's void is not actually empty. The emptiness is a sign that something else is pushing against structure itself, carving out holes in reality on a scale that shatters the standard model of cosmology. Number 4. The distance to the Great Attractor. Hundreds of millions of light-years away, beyond the Centaurus wall, hides a gravitational anomaly known as the Great Attractor. We cannot see it because the plane of our own Milky Way obscures the view, a zone of avoidance. The distance is roughly 220 million light-years. Yet despite this incomprehensible distance, our entire local group of galaxies, the Milky Way, Andromeda, the Triangulum Galaxy, and all of them, are being pulled toward it at roughly 600 kilometers per second. That's 1.3 million miles per hour. Every second you are alive, you are physically moving that distance through the cosmos, dragged by an invisible engine. The mass of the Great Attractor is estimated to be a quadrillion times the mass of our Sun. But the real implication is far worse. We are not stopping. We will never arrive. The accelerating expansion of the universe, the dark energy factor, will eventually rip the Great Attractor away from us faster than we can fall toward it. The distance is increasing in a way that violates our intuitive sense of cause and effect. We are falling toward a target that is running away faster than the speed of light allows us to catch it. The distance is not a place, it's a futile, cosmic gradient of eternal acceleration. Number 3. The distance to the cosmic microwave background. Every direction you look, if you look far enough, you hit a wall of light. It's not a physical wall, but an optical surface, where the universe transitions from transparent gas to opaque plasma. This is the cosmic microwave background, discovered accidentally by Penzias and Wilson in 1964 at Bell Labs. The distance is 13.8 billion light-years away, or rather, it was when the photons were emitted. Here is where the brain breaks. The object that emitted that light is now, accounting for the expansion of the universe, 46.5 billion light-years away. The light travel distance is 13.8 billion years. The proper distance is 46.5 billion light-years. The universe has stretched the space behind that light like a rubber sheet. The photons hitting your television antenna, causing static, have been redshifted by a factor of 1100. They left their source at 3000 Kelvin, a brilliant orange glow, and arrived as microwaves just 2.7 degrees above absolute zero. The distance is a trick of geometry. We are looking at the edge of time, but the edge of time is not an edge of space. There is no there anymore. The Big Bang happened everywhere, including in the room you sit in now. But those photons, the ones arriving from 46 billion light-years away, are the final whisper of a universe that was once opaque. We cannot see past this distance. It is the event horizon of our reality, and it implies that the vast majority of the universe exists beyond this horizon, utterly inaccessible, causally disconnected from you forever. Number 2. The distance to the Hubble Deep Field Galaxy GN-Z11. In 2016, a team using the Hubble Space Telescope confirmed the spectroscopic redshift of a galaxy called GN-Z11. The light travel distance is 13.4 billion years. We are seeing this galaxy as it was just 400 million years after the Big Bang. It is a baby picture of a star city, furious and blue, forming stars at a rate 20 times faster than the Milky Way does. The spatial paradox here is suicidal for the logical mind. GN-Z11 is not 13.4 billion light-years away in any practical sense. Due to the expansion of space, its comoving distance is approximately 32 billion light-years. There is a physical object out there, a collection of stars and planets, that is 32 billion light-years away. We have a photograph of it. But the light we captured was emitted from a region of space that at the time of emission was only 2.68 billion light-years from us. The universe added 30 billion light-years of distance between us and that galaxy during the time it took the light to travel. Let that sink in. The photon traveled 13.4 billion light-years through space, but the target was pushed away by the expansion of the fabric itself to 32 billion light-years. The distance never stayed still. You cannot fly there. Even at the speed of light, you would never catch it because the space between you and it expands faster than you can move. It is mathematically a ghost. This distance represents a boundary where the physical becomes permanently theoretical, and this connects directly to our final distance, the one that makes the Hubble Deep Field look like a microscopic peephole. Number 1. The distance to the edge of the observable universe. This is the final number, and it is not just a distance. It is a verdict on isolation. The comoving distance to the edge of the observable universe is 46.5 billion light-years in every direction. That creates a sphere 93 billion light-years in diameter. We reside exactly in the center, not because we are special, but because we can only see a sphere defined by where the light has had time to reach us since the beginning of time. Cosmologists like Dr. Ethan Siegel have calculated the minimum total size of the actual universe based on the observed spatial flatness. The curvature of our observable patch is 0 to within a 0.4% margin of error. This implies the unobservable universe is at minimum 250 times larger than the observable sphere, and it is highly likely it is infinite, not just big, infinite. A finite brain cannot simulate an infinite distance. If the universe is infinite, the distance isn't just a number. It means that everything that can happen, has happened, or will happen, is happening right now an infinite distance away. There is an exact copy of you, reading an exact copy of this script, 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 122 meters away. That distance is so vast it requires exponential notation that breaks language. But here is the deep existential horror that ties back to the Boat's void and the Great Attractor. If the expansion continues, the distance to the edge of our visible universe will shrink in what we can see. Galaxies like GNZ11 will redshift into a cold, dark infrared smear and then vanish entirely, their light stretched to infinity. The distance to the edge of nothing will become smaller than the distance to the last galaxy. In 100 billion years, a civilization looking at the sky will see only their host galaxy floating in a sea of absolute black. The cosmic microwave background will be stretched to undetectable lengths. The evidence of the Big Bang will be erased by distance itself. They will look at the void and calculate that the universe is static, small, and alone. They will have no way of knowing we ever existed. The distance between information and oblivion is a temporal horizon. The vastness we see now is a temporary gift. These numbers, the 93 billion light-years, the Great Attractor, and the pale blue dot are not static measurements. They are a fleeting glimpse of a grand architecture that the fabric of spacetime is actively pulling apart. We exist at the only moment in cosmic history where the distance to the edge of everything is measurable before the distance wins and the lights go out forever. If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.